Okay, so after you're done working for the day, make sure that you provide enough time for cleanup. To start, I would aim for 10 minutes or maybe a little bit more. As you get used to it, it should take about 5 minutes to do your cleanup. So process, we're going to keep all of this extra clay. It's all recyclable so that we can wedge that again later. And to do that, we'll just set it aside, and then, as my grandfather said, work smart, not hard. So rather than trying to peel or wipe this off the wheel, I just kick the wheel, use my wooden tool, and it comes right off. So I'll be able to use that later. I can stop my wheel now. Do not use metal on metal. Please just use a wooden rib to do so. Again, rather than wiping this all down, I can kick my wheel, put a little bit of water on there, and now my wheel is almost completely clean already. Yay! So even with this dirty water, you can get it rinsed off and then just use a ringed out sponge, clean that 100%, and the wheel head is done. So well, almost done. When the wheel head is done, you're working from the top down. Now we can start to clean the tools. Again, use that sponge, wipe your tools down. And just like we started, you should have 4 tools all neatly cleaned, ready for the next person in the next class period, unless that's you tomorrow, which is lucky you. You are the only person at that wheel. And again, to wrap this up, I'm going to hold it, make 1 loop, it's stuck, 1 loop, 2 loops, and then just wrap it through the middle once or maybe twice. And then you've got this nice little wire cutter ready to go. Wring out your sponge, set that on the top, missed a spot here, and you're ready to move on to the next part. This guy is your friend. The big sponge will help you tremendously. In the next portion, we're going to take this horseshoe shaped guy off, and when you pull it out, drop it down at the back so all the water and slop in the slop tray collects down here. I'm going to rotate that around, pour it out, grab my sponge, and clean up the slop tray or drip tray. Get all that clay off and just right into your bucket. I'll show you what to do with that in a minute. Clean the outside. If your extra clay is on the sponge, we can clean that again. This might be a good time to wipe off your hands so you're not adding clay back onto it like I am. And then once that guy is fully cleaned, set it back in. There's a little groove that goes into. Seats itself in there. Double check any fingerprints. You got those cleaned up. Wipe again. All right, so excess clay, we're going to bring this over, as much of it as possible, over into your buckets. We'll do that later, but I'm going to set that aside for now. Put those in the buckets to be recycled for the next class or for you tomorrow. And then when you've got all this puddle of water on your tabletop, rolling the sponge is going to absorb a whole lot more than if you wipe it. Once it's full, wring it out, roll through here, wring it out. And again, even with that dirty water, if you wring all of it out, and you can just do a quick wipe, flip it over, clean it again, and then a couple more times you should have a nice clean tabletop ready to go. If you want to drop this down underneath just in case you drip a little bit for that last little bit, that helps. Get the whole surface nice and clean. Maybe wipe the bottom so you don't drip all over, and then you're going to take this over to the sink for the next part. Okay, so when you get to the sink, hopefully the sink is clean and somebody hasn't left a nasty mess for you. So it should look something like this. You've got your sponge from before, and there's some of that extra little clay bits that we dropped in here. We don't want any of that clay to go down the drain because that clogs the drain. And there's really no saving this drain by a plunger or anything, so we'd have to take the whole thing out and replace all the plumbing to get it. So we don't want to do that. In order to prevent that, we're going to pour all the water through your sponge. And then any of those chunks of clay, you can catch them. Didn't lose any there, but you can see I've got some clay in there. Grab all of that out and bring it over here to one of these 2 buckets on the side and drop it in there. The only thing that should go in here is clay and water. So if any clay goes down into the sink, do this so you can see what happens. If you've got clay in the sink, we're going to have to clean that out. Once it touches the sink, we have to throw that away. So I'll show you what we're going to do with that in a moment. So grab my sponge. I can turn on the water, wipe down the outside of my bucket, wipe the inside of my bucket. I should probably clean my hands off a little bit. This sponge is very helpful for that. You don't need any soap for any of this process whatsoever, start to finish. One more quick rinse. Wipe down any surfaces that you got dirty. And then we can set your bucket down and find this extra clay. Wipe any extra pieces of clay towards the corner so it doesn't go down the drain. You can just sort of... Okay, so you wipe it all towards the corner, smoosh it up the side, and any of that clay that was in the bottom now goes into the garbage can. You can, a little bit of drips are no big deal. And then we can come back over and rinse everything out. One more quick wipe of all surfaces, and we've left a clean sink for the next person. Replace the sponge, and you're all done.